Robert Kiyosaki published Rich Dad, Poor Dad back in 1997, which is 26 years ago. So the question is whether this book, despite its rather dated cover, whether it's still worth reading in 2023. In this video, I'm going to break down my 4 main takeaways from this book and compare them to the kind of advice that financial gurus are giving out today, so that you can see whether it's a valuable read. Takeaway 1. Our financial decisions are frequently driven by unacknowledged fear. As part of his research project, an economist called John List ran a study about why people quit their jobs. And reasons number 2 and 3 were related to being passed up for a promotion or being denied a raise. And both of this feeds into this idea that Kiyosaki says is a problem for us, that we are reliant on our jobs for our income. So we're all stuck in this mindset where we are expecting other people to provide us with money. I have been in this situation myself, and I know a lot of other people who have felt this way at various points in their lives. And Kiyosaki says that the main issue is that we are conditioned to rely on somebody else to give us money, instead of taking the risks that are required to build our own wealth. So the real issue here is not just the societal conditioning, but the emotion behind it, which is fear. We have this fear of not being able to pay our bills. We have a big fear of starting from scratch, particularly if you're a millennial like me in 2023. You've probably achieved a certain level of success already, and taking other risks can feel significantly scarier than when you're 20. And then there's also just this general fear of not having enough. So, does this sound familiar? To me, yes it does. Morgan Housel published a book in 2020 where he explicitly talks about the connection between our emotions and money. And more specifically, how frequently our decisions around money seem logical, but they're actually emotional. And now for my second takeaway. Number 2, sustainable wealth is built over time. So to be honest, Kiyosaki doesn't actually mention this explicitly in the book, but there is this underlying theme with a lot of the things that he says. So for example, he does mention making fast turnaround cash, but he always acknowledges that he is able to have that kind of success because he's spent time building connections, learning about money, and more like generally understanding the system and building up enough money to be able to take those kind of decisions and grab those opportunities when they come up. So in a kind of roundabout way, he definitely acknowledges that time is important. So does anybody else talk about this in 2023? This idea of tortoise finance, slow and steady wins the race. One person in particular that jumps into my mind is Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about this all the time. It's one of his main messages about how you will be much better off going slow and steady, drip feeding your investments, for example, over a long period of time, letting that compound interest work in your favor, rather than trying to chase the next best thing and make investing super exciting. So he talks about investing, but this idea of taking it slow and building wealth gradually is definitely very worthwhile, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your journey. Takeaway 3. If you want to build wealth, you need to think differently from the pack. This goes back to topic 1, or takeaway 1, where I mentioned how we're all stuck in this cycle of relying on other people for our money. But in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, there is a full chapter called Rich People Invent Money. And there is this full chapter on it, but it is another theme that runs throughout the book across all of the chapters. And this idea is that we should be less reliant on a single income stream. Basically, it comes down to your mindset and being open-minded to opportunity, and that we need to start looking for opportunities to grow our wealth. So it's less about what's the maximum you can earn in your job and more about looking around you, understanding the things that you're seeing and recognizing where you might be able to make some money. So, who else in 2023 talks about thinking differently? Well, one person that pops into my mind is Cody Sanchez. I very recently heard her interviewed on a podcast, and her whole thing is talking about buying out boring businesses or starting your own. And she is talking about these different ideas, and then at one point she says, well, I know what everybody at home is thinking. They're going, well, that's cool for you to say. If I had more money or if I had more time, then I could do those things too, but right now I just can't. And what she suggests is kind of flipping the script a little bit and turning that if and asking yourself instead, how could I make that work? So one of the examples she gave is this subscription design service. Great idea. If you're not a designer, seems a bit like tricky. But then the challenge is for you to think about, okay, how could I make a subscription service business work? Maybe I'm not a designer, but I am a writer. Maybe I could figure something else out with a writing subscription. The details aren't that important. The point is thinking about a different way to do things, or thinking differently, full stop. And now I have saved the best for last. Takeaway 4 is this: financial literacy is the best investment you can make. So I've touched on this throughout this whole video, but if there is one thing that I took away from Robert Kiyosaki's book, and that I think that he probably wanted me to take away because he mentioned it so frequently, is that fools rush in, but successful, wealthy people take time to understand. They learn, and then they use that information to make sound financial decisions. Is this advice timeless? Without even referring to anybody else, I know that this advice is timeless. But in case you needed proof, basically everybody I have mentioned in this video, plus everybody else I've ever come across who talks about money, says that the most important investment that you can make is in your own education, whether that is formal education, whether that's reading books about finance, learning about different mindset and how that affects your whole life, or understanding different ways to make money. Education is never a poor use of your time or money. And in fact, it is the anchor and the foundation that you need to really be successful financially, whatever that means to you. So to wrap this up and come back to the question of whether Rich Dad, Poor Dad is still relevant in 2023, I think it's pretty clear that it is. If you have not ever seen it recommended, that is a surprise because it is often talked about. The one thing that I would say that grated with me a little bit, it doesn't acknowledge much of the broader context, and things have changed a little bit since 1997. Like, people are much more likely to acknowledge systemic inequalities and issues like that, which I think we can't really ignore. And if you are somebody wondering why it's just not working for you, it's not necessarily that you are the problem. So I think that this book is a really good read if you are wanting to set yourself on a successful path when it comes to money, but take it with a little pinch of salt, use what you can, discard what doesn't work for you. And I guess that goes for everything ultimately. On that note, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.